Welcome to the Newsmaker Show, folks. We have one of my favorite guests. I hope he is one of yours, too. If you watch Fox, and if you don't, why not? He's on every Sunday night at 7:30, along with Doug Schoen and Pat Goodell, two pollsters and a former congressman, John being the former congressman, John being John leboutillier, who's on the line with us today, first time in maybe 6 or 7 months. Stay tuned.
Next on News Talk, AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show with Kevin Doran.
I'm feeling better because I missed you. I missed our conversations.
John was just saying he missed our conversations. You didn't hear that, but I'm repeating it. Is that what you said, John?
That is exactly what I said.
Right, okay. I've always enjoyed talking to John, but let me take a moment now to plug that program. Sunday evenings is part of the 7 o'clock report on Fox News. Harris Faulkner, who's a very, very bright gal and a great anchor, or anchorette, whatever they call them these days, she has these three guys, Doug Schoen, Democrat, and who's your buddy to the left there? What?
Pat Goodell.
Pat Goodell, who was a pollster for Jimmy Carter. I guess he's still a Democrat. I don't know. And John leboutillier, a former Republican congressman from New York area. And these guys are really terrific. They're called the Insiders, and it's a wonderful, wonderful show. John, let me digress a moment about Fox. The other networks ignore so much news. For example, the Jonathan Gruber blow-up, the guy that said Americans are stupid and we were able to put it over on them with Obamacare. ABC and NBC never mentioned that last week. CBS gave it a brief mention. If you're not watching Fox, there's so much you just don't know. Am I right?
You're right. It's another world, Fox versus the mainstream media. They're two alternative universes. And I think the Gruber story is so important, and it's a deliberate attempt by the mainstream networks to hide Gruber and not have that come out. And it shows the bias in the media, and the bias is part of the reason Obamacare was passed in the first place, because the media never asked the tough questions about, where's the money really going? Why? How do you know you can keep your doctor? Blah, blah, and push harder on it. They didn't do it. The media's gone from being a watchdog to being a lapdog.
John, let's assume that we have some people listening now, frankly, don't know anything about Gruber because they watch Brian Williams or ABC or CBS. Tell us the story.
Gruber is an MIT professor who really was the architect of the technical part of Obamacare. He wrote the thing, basically. And I think he did Romney Care up there in Massachusetts also, because they're very similar. And he has given a series of interviews in the last year that have been on video that have just, for some reason, just surfaced now. I don't know why we didn't know about them before, but in these interviews, Kevin, he says in almost every interview that the American people are too stupid, that's his word, to understand the intricacies of the Obamacare plan, and that what the authors of Obamacare did was they deliberately complicated it, made it hard to follow what was going on, so that the stupid people couldn't figure it out. And this condescension from someone like this towards the American people, it's frightening. It's frightening. I mean, I think the people have to reassess everything now.
Well, John, one of the things that caught my attention listening to this, as my father would call him, educated fool, you got to wonder how bright the guy is. Never mind, he might have good education, a Ph.D. in his MIT, which, of course, is supposed to be a very, very big deal. But you wouldn't say those things if you had any moxie, would you? You wouldn't say that in front of a camera, huh?
Well, he did. I mean, they're on YouTubes and stuff. But, yeah, it is true that guys and gals often with classroom smarts don't have street smarts.
Yeah.
And here's a case of a guy. And the other guy that's like that is the other co-author of Obamacare, is this guy Ezekiel Emanuel, Rahm Emanuel's brother.
Yeah, very arrogant guy, yeah.
Oh, God, he's arrogant. And he's a doctor, and he's a big know-it-all. And he's on all these shows all the time, basically saying the same thing, which is, look, you're an average American. You're too stupid to understand the good things I've done for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, John, what I was about to say, and I lost my train of thought, which is happening more and more lately, by the way, was the people aren't that dumb because they didn't like Obamacare. They still don't like Obamacare. They're going to like it less in a couple months. But the fact is they didn't put it over on the people, did they?
No, and the proof is the Democrats passed it without any Republican votes back in 2010, and the entire House of Representatives under Democratic control, boom, changed to Republican in 2010, and now this year the Senate, which voted for this thing on a party line vote, they were thrown out, and the Republicans have taken over the Senate. So the success of Obamacare can be measured in a lot of ways, but in the political world, it's a complete nuclear bomb to the Democrats.
Speaking of nuclear bombs, John, I have a very good friend of mine who's with me every week. He's a professor of poli-sci at a nearby university. He tends to be sympathetic with what Obama wants to do with these immigrants. In other words, keep the families together. But that isn't the real point. The real point, in my humble, is that he's going around the Constitution and using executive authority the way a dictator might, or a king. Am I right?
Yeah, 100% right. It isn't what he's doing, it's how he's doing it. And we may be seeing something come from this that will be almost revolutionary in America. Well, I think the people are going to react very badly to what he's doing when they learn of it. And he hasn't done it yet, but they leaked it out today in the New York Times and some other papers that this plan involves, in effect, taking 5 million illegal aliens who have children here in America and saying to them, you're not going to be deported, and you're eligible to get a green card, which makes you legal in America. You're not a citizen. You can't vote, but you're here legally. You got to pay taxes. You got to do all that, but you no longer have to worry that someone's going to come in here in the middle of the night, grab you, and take you down to Mexico. And
they weren't doing that anyway, were they?
No.
Yeah.
They ordered some deportations and then never followed through on them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a big deal. But why he has to do this one, I don't know. I don't really know what his thinking is, why he's doing it. But I think he is going to do it, just like he's going to veto Keystone. He's really following a leftist agenda now after the election of a week ago.
In last Friday's Drudge Report, I don't know if you've seen it or not or whether you saw it, there's a picture of illegal immigrants, Hispanic, I suppose Mexican, maybe farther down in Latin America, giving the finger of scorn. Check it out. Maybe it's still up there. The finger of scorn to American ICE officers, the guys that supposedly do something about immigration, because they say, hey, look, this president's going to let us in anyway, so here, take this, and they give him and you know the sad thing, I guess I'm an old-fashioned guy, a lot of them are young girls, and that always bothers me more than if a guy does it, But the point is, these people are telling us, stick it, pal, we run this show as long as this guy's in the White House.
Yeah.
There's something about that really ticks me off. How about you?
Well, it ticks me off, too. And then there's another angle to it, which is the idea of people coming into this country illegally and then demonstrating against this country, demanding that they be given citizenship. Now, there's something wrong with that picture.
There is. You know another funny one, John. I have a family in Phoenix, my daughter and her family, and we go out there a couple of times a year. And one of the funniest things that I've ever seen out there are illegal aliens being hired, and they are. They don't make any bones about it. Being hired to stand out in front of companies protesting because the union guys, they don't want to be bothered. So they hire these illegals, and they say, go on out there and demonstrate. Also, you have the illegals demonstrating for total amnesty. And all you got to do is walk in that crowd and arrest all those people and deport them if you really wanted to,
Well, it's an amazing thing.
It is, yeah.
You can break into America and then demand to be made legal. Now, what other country in the world would even allow such a thing?
That's right. They'd line you up on a wall. We're talking.
Go ahead. Sorry,
no.
Go ahead, Kevin.
We're talking to John leboutillier, and it's always fun to talk with him. We have to take a break right now. I always really enjoy talking to former Congressman John leboutillier. Again, I want to plug his, well, it's not just his, the Fox News Political Insiders, 7:30 Sunday nights. Friends, if you don't see it on a regular basis, you ought to, because here are guys that are not promoting Republicans, they're not promoting Democrats, they're just telling it like it is. Two Democrats, if they still are, and John leboutillier, who still is a Republican, I guess, aren't you, John?
I am, but I'm unhappy at times, and I say it on the show. And those guys are Democrats. They don't like Obama. They think the Democratic leadership and elite of the party is rotten to the core, just like I think the Republican elite is pretty rotten, too. Mm-hmm. But I believe republicanism, what our party stands for, is right. And if you sell it better, the country would go for it. I do believe that.
Well, I left the Republican Party. I joined the Constitution Party. So,
that's good.
Which is what the Republican Party really ought to be. Okay, let's talk about the Hispanics, John.
Okay.
This is not prejudice, folks. It's not racism. It's just something that kind of gets under my skin. Maybe nobody else. Maybe I'm the only one. But when Gutierrez, I think that's his name, Gutierrez, the congressman from Illinois, stands up and promotes, really promoting let them all come in whenever they want, and threatens the two major parties by saying, we won't vote for you. That is really without precedent, isn't it? We're a very small group of people, and they are powerful at the polls, that they can threaten their way into power. There's something wrong with that, John.
And they're not that small a group anymore. They're the fastest growing group in America. So their numbers show how powerful they're becoming, and both parties are sort of struggling to figure out how to handle this thing because, the parties could be taken over by other people if we're not careful, and I think they're worried about it. But I look upon this Hispanic thing that these people are Catholics and they're conservative. And they've come to America to send money home to their families back in Mexico and farther down in Central America.
Fully understandable, yeah.
They're not terrible people. No. They work very hard.
Hard-working, yeah.
Right. The law-breaking that has gone on, frankly, that's on us. That's on our government for several presidents who've not enforced the border, not insisted on enforcing the border, and therefore allowed people in. So many of them that I understand part of when you go down to Arizona, part of it is like a Mexican town.
You're right. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that is a shame, and that's why you want the government running immigration so that it's done in an orderly fashion and we don't bring too many people here compared to what the previous governor of New York had and all. But I am taking a longer view with the Hispanic voter, that he may and she may register early in their time in America as Democrats. Kevin would vote Democrat. But they are Catholics. They're conservative Catholic people. And I somehow don't think those people become liberals. Their children might be liberals, but they're not. And we aren't getting all those votes. We're not getting this woman.
We, the Republicans, right, yeah.
Yeah, we're not getting them all. We've started not doing well among certain groups that we did well in before, one of which is housewives. And we shouldn't take them for granted. We should be working for every vote.
Let's go back to the president's executive order, which apparently he's going to do. Question is when. That sets up, does it not, a constitutional crisis? Talk to me about that.
Well, if he does an executive order like the one they've outlined today, which is pretty big, we have people in the House and Senate who want to go after Obama, punish him for it, and maybe even impeach him for it. And they'll have to get a ruling on whether anything that Bill Clinton has done this year is impeachable. I don't know.
Bill Clinton or Obama?
Obama. Why I keep thinking of Clinton, I don't know, because we're in New York and I keep thinking of Hillary. I don't know what it is. Yeah, they're going to have to look. And I keep telling people, Kevin, that Obama makes bad decisions, but they're political decisions. He's not doing criminal activity all day long. And if he were, then impeachment becomes a possibility. But short of impeachment, we're looking at finding if there's false reporting and things like that in the library of Kirkland House where the art might be. And go and look at it and see if they're cheating or not. That's what's got to be done.
Well, John, it's going to be an interesting, if not necessarily pleasant, few months coming up. And I want to stay in touch with you. I explained to John I've been kind of out of commission here since mid-year. But we'll have you back on a regular basis. But know this, I'm following you very carefully every Sunday night.
Thank you, Kevin. Every Sunday, 7:30 to 8, with wonderful Harris Faulkner.
Yeah, she's very bright. Yeah.
I think it is the best half-hour political analysis on TV.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And I hope that your listeners will tune in and give us a shot. And I hope you keep feeling well, and you'll have me back on before the year's over.
I will. Right. Oh, definitely. Yeah, because this is all going to break in the next month or so, John, and I always enjoy your insights.
I think it might break before Thanksgiving.
All right, partner. Good talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. God knows what it must be worldwide. All right, stay tuned now for more news and information on AM 1480 WLEA, where news comes first.